Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, y'all, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander, and I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another fabulous Power to Fly Chat and Learn event. Now, before we dive in here, I just want to go over a couple quick housekeeping items. These are especially important if maybe this is your first event with Power to Fly. If that's the case, hi, we're excited to meet you. Thanks for hanging out. And if you are one of our frequent flyers, please know I might not do a silly dance, but I am always excited to see y'all in the audience as well. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, now today's event, like all of our virtual events, is all about you. It's about our audience members and making sure that you get the answers that you came to get from today's session. So to that end, you are highly encouraged to ask questions, add comments, let us know how you're feeling about what we're talking about. And just basically participate as much as you would like. So if you are interested in doing that, there's a couple different ways. If you want to turn your cameras on and share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely, that is excellent. I highly encourage it, and we love to see it. But truly, y'all, there is no need to be Instagram perfect, honestly. You could be coming from a boardroom or your bedroom. You might be in a bathrobe or a three-piece suit. We do not care. We just want to meet you where you are to bring these amazing resources to each and every one of you. Now, if you don't want to turn your cameras on, or if you've got any kind of privacy concerns, completely understood. As long as you don't come off mute during today's session, you will not show up on the live stream or the recording. Now, the thing to know here about this recording is that you all get to sit back and relax. You don't have to take notes. You don't have to record anything. You don't have to worry if you missed a reference that someone made. It is not an issue because you can always go back and review this. So the way that works is Power to Fly is going to send an email to everybody that registered in the next 2 to 4 business days. So it might be next week you would get it. But that's going to contain a rewatch link when we get this video posted to our website. Now, on the website, you can search an entire archive of recorded chats, literally everything that has happened from the beginning of Lunch and Learns with Lauren Haggerty up through today. So it's an amazing, amazing resource there. However, let's say that Lisa or Lissette says something so just like mind-blowing, unbelievable, paradigm shifting. You cannot wait the 2 to 4 business days to share this info with a friend or coworker or relative. You don't have to. Because we're live streaming to YouTube, you can always check out the recording there. It's usually posted within the same day of the session. And as we're going through, the other way you can participate is by asking questions. So if you've got questions or comments, I want to hear them, y'all. Send them over in the chat. I want to be in there. I want to know what y'all are feeling. Maybe your lived experience is different than what we're talking about. Maybe we are going to go over one of your questions and there's some extra context you think we should know. Or maybe you had a question occur to you this morning and you want to make sure you get an answer. The best way to do that is to ask early and ask often. So throw in any questions you might have in the group chat. If you've got anything that you'd like, a comment or a question you'd like raised, but you want to be kept anonymous, no sweat. Just send it to me in the dear Lord, y'all, English is hard. It's the only language I speak. Send me a DM in the Zoom chat, and I am happy to raise whatever question or comment you have. Now, the other thing that I want to shout out here to get y'all active in that chat, because I'd love to see it happen, please feel free to jump in there if you're comfortable and let us know where you're joining from. I'm always really eager to see how far our global audience spreads. I am coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged indigenously to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So if you feel like it, let us know where you're joining from, or if you know whose land you're on. Now, last but not least, I do want to highlight that today's session is going to be all about, hold on here. There we go. All about some amazing women joining us from Duck Creek. Sorry, y'all, that's a different event in like 84 minutes. So Creek Technologies, I've actually gotten to host a lot of their events. You're going to be really excited for these speakers. But the big thing to know here is that I'll be sending links for all of this in the chat. But this that you're looking at now is Duck Creek's company page on powertofly.com. Now, what this means or what this looks like, this is a place where you can go to learn more about Duck Creek, their company culture, their benefits. You can also click on the events link. That is going to take you to past events that recordings of past events that they have participated with us, as well as if there's anything planned for the future, you can register in advance there as well. And then obviously the real meat and potatoes of any one of our client pages on Power to Fly is the jobs, right? So if you want to, go ahead, check out their open roles. One thing that I want to highlight for you is something called the Follow Network. So every company page, including Duck Creek, has a big pink button that says follow. It's going to be in the upper right-hand corner of the page, every single company page when you navigate there. When you click that button and say follow or I'm interested, what that does is it puts you on the Follow Network. It does a lot of really great things for you, but effectively it works like your friend who already works at Duck Creek. So it tells, Powerfly sends, these lists of who's on the Follow Network to our hiring team partners. So all of the hiring team is going to know, even before you fill out an application, that you are interested in working with them. So that's awesome. But the other part of it is Powerfly is going to take some of the weight off of your plate and make sure that you always know when they post new roles, but you don't have to come back and keep checking and rechecking job boards that I know I'm not the only one. You've checked them often enough that you memorize the order, right? So this is a nice way that Powerfly is trying to take some of that load and work off you in your job search. Now, I also very much recommend the Follow Network if you are actively seeking and don't see a role that suits you right now. That is an amazing way to make sure that you know firsthand, or first thing once they post a new role, because it might be your next great fit. The other thing it's good for, if you're not actively looking right now, putting companies from Powerfly on your Follow Network can make you basically a short list of companies that you are interested in, companies that really walk the walk and talk the talk when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So it's a really great way to give yourself a short list once you do decide you might want to know what's going on and what other opportunities might be out there. All right, now I'm really excited to introduce our speakers to you. So first up, we have Lissette Vega-Brown joining us. Now, Lissette is a customer success manager at Duck Creek. With over 25 years of experience in the fields of tech, insurance, and finance, Lissette brings a passion for finding process gaps and implementing new initiatives to help her internal and external clients to be successful and efficient. She specializes in business analysis, change management, as well as customer success management. Now, as a Dominican lesbian in an interracial marriage living in the South, this all adds to her passion for helping people grow and feel supported and included. Lissette is currently the chair for Duck Creek's Hispanic and Latinx Employee Resource Group and is co-lead of the mentorship subcommittee for the Black Resource Group, as well as being a member of the Pride Resource Group. Now, Lissette also volunteers her time at the local LGBTQIA Center, helping her community with a safe space to get the services and assistance they need. Lissette, amazing, and a mission that I think is dear to a lot of our hearts on the call today. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like our audience to know about you today?
Well, first I want to say I love this. I love the energy. Meg, you are amazing. And I just wanted to share that my true authentic self is a Latin bachata dancer. If I could have a second career, it would be a background dancer, doing bachata, merengue, turning it up, but I need to pay the bills. So thankfully, I have the intelligence to do my job, but the fun part of me just wants to dance.
Oh, I love that so much. Like, I have like little to no rhythm. What I lack in rhythm, I make up for in enthusiasm. But as a child, I was obsessed. Nobody's ever gonna have to hear of this. The movie Dance With Me, it's got Vivica A. Fox in it. Thank you, stop, thank you, vindication. Okay, it's amazing, y'all, go watch it. I literally have a copy on VHS. It's crap, but it's about ballroom dancing and it's fabulous and I love it. So if you have aspirations, but maybe not the feet to get you there, it's a nice, it's a nice lead-in. Well, thank you so much, Lissette. All right, joining Lissette is going to be Liza Miller. Now, I had the pleasure of getting to speak with Liza at a prior Duck Creek event, so you might recognize her from that. Now, Liza is a service desk lead, known as an effective leader at Duck Creek Technologies. She's in a cross-functional team leadership. She also, wait a minute. No, I moved my whole line. I'm sorry, y'all. So Liza is a passionate DE&I advocate. She serves as an enthusiastic and active member of both the Diversity Council as well as several employee resource groups within Duck Creek. Now, Liza takes on every challenge that comes her way and has a history of starting at the bottom and working her way up the ladder quickly. Liza, I am so excited to get to talk to you again today. Is there anything else that our audience should know about you?
Oh, I mean, other than, yes, the big takeaway here is the movie Dance With Me, especially because it stars a pop culture icon, Cheyenne. Amazing.
Right?
I think the other takeaway would be another recommendation. You can only find it on YouTube. Lissette is about to start laughing because I talk about this all the time, but it's a movie called Salsa, and it has one of the guys that was in Menudo, and the soundtrack is amazing. And the guy who did the choreography was the same guy that did the choreography for Dirty Dancing. You're going to love it. I am a huge movie fan. My biggest part is like 90s action movies. I grew up a total tomboy. So like the revisiting of like the Expendables and all that stuff coming out now was like a dream. So yeah, if anybody ever wants to connect to talk about movies or music or just bochinche, like holler at me. My LinkedIn is in there.
Yes.
Or join Duck Creek and come to the Valar meeting, because she's my cultural events subcommittee lead, and salsa comes up every meeting with a little clip and a little bit of music.
Oh, I love that so much. That's amazing. Thank you, Lisa. All right, y'all, before we dive into questions, let me stop sharing my screen here. I do just want to say a real quick thank you to everybody for chiming in the chat here. We've got people coming to us from LA, Houston, Texas, Merritt Island, Florida, Washington, Canada, Connecticut, more Texas, New Haven, Memphis, Tennessee, Omaha, Nebraska. Love it, y'all. Thank you so much for joining today. All right, now we're going to go and dive into questions, but the last thing I'm going to mention to y'all that's not exactly questions is this. So one of the things we like to encourage y'all to do is to share with your social community that you are learning and growing with Power to Fly. I know we post text about this in the chat threads. We do it all the time, but I wanted to let y'all know why. So if you're on this chat with us today, odds are you are probably very, very, very tied as well to the Power to Fly motto, right? Our mission is to fast track gender equity and pay equity in the workforce. So we want to really make these changes happen. And one of the fastest ways we think that we can, address this issue is by getting our resources into the hands of as many people as possible. Now, these are completely free resources. I think y'all are aware of that, but we want to share them. So if you would like to, please feel free to let your social media network know that you're learning with Power to Fly. You can take video or still photos, whatever you'd like, and just let people know. You can use our hashtag. We are hashtag Power to Fly. Our @ is @Power to Fly on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. No, we're not on TikTok, I don't think, and YouTube. So if you are at all interested in that, we would love, love, love some ground level support for it. Thank you so much for doing that if you feel the need. All right, so we've got a really cool list of questions here. So I want to make sure we dive right in. This first person had wanted to learn more about each of your experiences in bringing your authentic selves to work. And they were especially interested in some of the challenges you might have faced. Let's see, Lissette, do you want to go first on this?
Sure. So my experience has been a true journey. I came from a very diverse place, from New York City, where there's many of me, except in my family, because in my family, there aren't too many lesbians. We're culturally not so accepting, sadly. And I moved to a place that was very conservative, very behind the scenes. So I had to take a lot of time to figure out who my authentic self was, because I think a lot of people think the entirety of themselves is their true authentic self. But your true authentic self is built around, what are your values? What are your morals? What do you really want? Sometimes we get stuck in, project management is the going career. I'm going to do it. Everybody's doing it. But it might not be your authentic self. So I took a lot of time visiting with myself, talking to myself, to figure out my true values are compassion. My true values are resiliency. My true values are putting 100% of myself in all of my investments. And that is how I leveraged the career that I have, the opportunities that I've had. I am the only Latina, lesbian, biracial, wife-having person on a team of 60 service managers. But even though I'm the only one, because I'm the only one who spoke Spanish, I was the only one who had the opportunity to meet with a prospective client in Latin America. I was able to bring Lisa along with me to highlight her, because part of your authentic self is knowing who your people are and knowing to bring your people to support you. And she's a great supporter. So that's a little bit about how I determined who my authentic self was and figuring out who I wanted to present when I came to work. Because it's not really about presenting all of you. It's about presenting the portion of you that you want to present.
Yeah, I think that you made a really good point there, which is like your authentic self doesn't change, right? It's core things about you. So while I might, kind of put on my professional hat here, and I might put on my absolutely ridiculous hat to go play with my nieces, and I might put on my badass hat when I'm going to a protest, that doesn't mean that my core values are changing in any way in that area, right? So I like to think of it in terms of like kind of facets. Like you might show somebody a certain side of you that changes their view, but the stuff that's in the middle doesn't change, right? It's just the extra stuff, whether we're trying to highlight the fact that like I can multitask like nobody's business, or we can highlight the fact of I can yell louder than you can. So really, like it is, I think that's a really important thing to highlight, right? Is that you're not changing who you are, and you don't have to feel like if any part of you is not acceptable at work, then it's not acceptable ever,
And it's not so much about not being acceptable. It's about what are you trying to do where you're presenting? Like, are you trying to show the intimate side of you? Are you trying to show your excellence? Are you trying to bridge between the people? So that might be your sense of humor. Lisa has a wonderful sense of humor, as you'll hear shortly. And she is usually, the spotlight. I tell her all the time, she's a force, and she brings the force. She encourages me through how courageous she is. But she'll also tell you that I am very supportive. I will check in. I will offer myself, because that's my authentic self to, help the people that I love and care about. And they show up for me as well.
Very cool. Yeah, we've got somebody in the chat saying it is impossible to show all of yourself, and one has to keep something in for ourselves. It's the side that you choose to show. I like that. Lisa, what about you? What has your experience been like? What were some of the hurdles that you have had to face?
So I would say that there is a challenge in and of itself. Number one, identifying who is your authentic self. There's the challenge of, is this going to be accepted where I'm at? Sometimes going into your work environment, it's almost like going into Nordstrom and you're grabbing something and it's going to fit a little tight, even though the number says it's your size. So you're like, I'm going to try this because it looks good. It's going to give me what I want. It's going to project what I want. Kind of like how Lissette was saying, project management's the way to go. I'm going to go that way. Tech is the way to go. I'm going to go that way. What ends up happening is, this is going to get personal. If you need to grab a tissue, go ahead. You get into that dressing room, you try it on, and what happens? Right? Lágrimas, tears. I think, try to fit ourselves into the path we think we're supposed to be on, the role we're supposed to take. And that's where I think you start to find your authentic self, when you realize that doesn't fit and that's not you, and you're making yourself uncomfortable because you're trying something that's not you. So I think that it's one of the best things to face every hurdle with the takeaway. What are you taking away from this? There's a reason that outfit doesn't fit, because there's something more banging out there for you to put on. My most authentic self has been prospering here at Duck Creek. And it's because it's the first time in my over 20 years in a corporate work environment where I found a company that cares and means it. It's one thing for them to say, we have diversity. There's our 3 Black people right there. No, that's not what we mean when we're talking about diversity and inclusion. Oh, we've invited people into the conversation. They don't have a say, but they're here. They're present.
Yeah, come be in the audience.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Check box, done. The fact that this company has multiple employee resource groups, we are creating through our volunteer work in these groups, our communities. A long time ago, I said I'm never going to use the word family at work. Those do not go together, because if I could fire my brother in a heartbeat, I would. I can't. But my job, they're not going to, right, Lisa? They're not going to. But if they wanted to, they could let me go right after this call and I wouldn't even see it coming. So it's not family, but it is community. And when you find your community, what's more important than that, like Lissette was saying, you find your squad, you find your people, you find your mentors, you find sponsors, you find the wind beneath your wings. Stop me. Go. Next one.
No, I think that's a really good point. And I love that you hit on that, because truly family has really become a dirty word when it comes to like work context, right? If I hear, oh, we're all like a family over here, we help each other out, I'm running fast. And any of my friends who've been like come home from interviews and they're like, yeah, they're just such a great family. No, I'm not letting you do that. Here's why. So I love that you describe it as a community, because yeah, you can all lean on each other and whatever, but there's stuff your family puts you through that you would never take from a coworker or a boss. So I think that's, yeah, very, very important distinction to make here. Okay, this person wanted to know if you have any advice on how to find the balance between bringing your authentic self while still respecting your privacy. Oftentimes I end up feeling like I overshared. Okay, let's talk about this. Have either of you ever felt like this? Have you been in a situation and you shared part of yourself and then you were like, oh, maybe I should reel that back a little bit? Lisa, you're nodding first, so I'm going to you.
Ooh, so when I saw this question, I immediately was like, yes, notes. I have notes on this. I do know and value the importance of boundaries and respecting privacy. What I think this mostly comes to when we're talking about bringing your authentic self to work is, first off, do you know your boundaries? Because if you don't know them, you're going to find them quickly when somebody asks you a question. And Lissette, I'm going to put you on the spot here because, again, of how, you and I are buddy. For somebody to just randomly come up to you and be like, oh, you have a partner? I thought you had a husband. Like, oh, well, first off, that's none of your business. We were talking about a client, but okay, right? Like there's that instant emotion of, you just looked, you peeped over my wall. How dare you? I'm not ready to share that information, right? So first and foremost, you have to find a balance for yourself, right? And who's your audience? Who is this that you think you may have overshared with? I think the flip side of that is, did you overshare, or is that your first exposure in being vulnerable? Is that you opening the door to your authentic self and then realizing maybe your audience is not as vulnerable with you as you are with them, and that's why it feels like you overshared? So my counter to that is, you're you, and that's what makes you amazing. That's what makes you who you are, where you are, and why you're there. So it may feel like an overshare, or it could just be you're planting your flag. This is me. This is who I am. If anything I've said happens to be uncomfortable, let's go back to talking about boring work stuff then. I'll leave my personal stuff for my squad. So.
I love
that. I agree with Lisa. I think that what you share comes from an intimate part of you, and sometimes it allows others to be as intimate with you. I have a great mentor, and last year we worked on how much of myself I wanted to be at work. So it falls right in line with this conversation. And the fact that my mentor was so open with me, who shared things that were embarrassing to him, that, showed me that he's overcome just as much or even more than I've overcome in my life, it gave me courage. So it kind of let me feel more of myself. And I feel like as long as whatever you are sharing, you feel okay with, you should be able to speak about it. Now, it shouldn't be spoken if it's offensive, obviously, because you don't want to offend anyone else. But if you are talking about something about yourself that you feel helped you, that pushed you forward, that maybe you needed some help with, I feel you should open yourself up, let it out. Lisa and I have learned so much about each other, work and non-work. And it's like, I might be having a bad day. I had a bad day on Monday. I called Lisa on the phone and she was like, don't worry about that. You got this. Now, would I call everyone? Probably not. But when you find your people and you've built that intimate relationship where you know they respect you, you respect them, there's a comfort level. It's okay. It's just really okay just to be you, the you that you want to be.
Couldn't agree more. The chat is blowing up over here. Rob had commented, pretty much every office I've ever been in, I've wondered, when do I come out to the team here? And then Lisa, I saw your response from Duck Creek saying, Rob, it's hard. I'm in a place where I will only work somewhere that seems to be okay with me being open about who I am and my queer identity. I realize we don't always have this choice, and Duck Creek really embraced me. And I think that is really wonderful. And I love to hear it because, you know, the amount of extra mental strain and work that you are keeping going, parts of your brain that you are occupying with trying to remember what you're not bringing to work and what you're not talking about. It's that much brain power that you then, I mean, in the eyes of the company, don't have to put towards work. So really, when you're thinking about, this is one of the things I try and explain to people who are not within the community and might not understand why, why is this all we talk about? Well, because people were shut up for a long time. But this is what I tell people, think about all the times you go to work and you talk about, well, I went to Home Depot with my wife this weekend. We went and I had, my kids' lacrosse tournament all weekend. And here's what that was like. Think about all those times that you said that, and then think about the number of times you would have to be quiet if your relationship was going to be a lightning rod for certain people, right? That sucks. We don't want that for anyone, especially people who are already in a dangerous or very unstable situation. So I think it's really, really important that we highlight how important this is, not just for the people themselves, for all of you, but it's important for the rest of the workforce, right? We want our workplaces to look like the world, so they should.
And it's okay, Meg, to pace yourself. Lisa heads our Pride ERG, Lisa McIntyre, not Liza Miller. And this is the second year they've invited me to be a panelist, kind of to talk about being queer at work. Well, last year I wasn't really ready. This is a process where you go at your own pace. It was my first year at Duck Creek. I wanted to be excellent. I didn't want to be, oh, Lissette the lesbian who, by the way, she's a customer success manager. But this year, now that I already have the brand that I want, now I can be the other brand of myself, someone that makes it okay for other people to feel okay, because the worst thing at work is gay people come out every day. I don't know if we realize that, water cooler conversation is, oh, what does your husband do? And then you're like, we're here again, here I go, coming out the closet again. Well, my wife does XYZ. And then there's the awkward pause. And you're like, okay, how's this going to go? It's kind of like this suspenseful moment of, are they going to be receptive? Is this going to be an awkward relationship going forward? But when you mature in your path, you start to realize that doesn't really matter so much. Part of maturing in yourself is just being okay with who you are and understanding that everyone is not going to be okay with who you are. But as long as you're okay and you're happy and you respect yourself, everyone else will just have to deal with it.
Yeah, that is a very, very important thing to highlight. That idea that you have to do this when straight or when homosexual is the default standard of what most people come to think of as oh yeah, just if somebody's married, ask about their opposite gender spouse. I think it is really important that we keep making this visible about all of the different ways that y'all have to do this. You have to disclose kind of all over again. So yeah, I think that's a very important thing. Somebody else is chiming in, more Duck Creekers coming in, saying, with coming to Duck Creek, I did not feel the need to come out. I have been out for 20 years, so why do I need to come out again? Sadly, I was at an event where people were making negative comments around women and the LGBT plus community. So I had to basically tell them their comments were offensive and that I identified as gay. They apologized and of course quickly said how supportive they were. I look forward to the day where we don't have to come out. I don't see straight people having to come out as straight. This is huge, y'all.
Exactly.
Okay. Seriously, this is why some of the straights are dumb and think it's a choice, because y'all are being forced into like not admitting, what am I trying to say? Forced into having to disclose to be real and true to yourself. Well, I don't have to walk into a room and explain to somebody that he's my husband. So like, how is that fair?
And actually now we've started a disability ERG, and not everybody's disability is visible. So all the ERGs are making other people courageous to be able to say, you know what, I have ADD, that's okay, because I'm awesome at what I do. I suffer from anxiety, but you know what? I push myself into that situation because you know what? I'm a winner. And you have to tell yourself that you are winning.
Yeah, I feel the same. I live with bipolar disorder type 2, and I try, not that I try and tell as many people as possible, but I try to be as open as I possibly can about it, because I am resourced. I have the luxury of, you know, having my job that supports me, my spouse, my circle of friends, all that kind of stuff. But there are so many people that don't, and because it's invisible, like I never would have known. I mean, I didn't get diagnosed until I was freaking 33, for crying out loud. So like, truly, when you are thinking in terms of disability, or sorry, thinking in terms of diversity, you do have to think in more than just visible, right? We are starting to see that more and more, which is wonderful. But absolutely something that has to keep continuing. Okay, so let's talk about like in a work situation. Did y'all ever have any trouble kind of finding your voice at work? One person wrote in saying, I feel like it could hurt my professional growth. And I wonder if you have ever felt this way, or if you have advice on how to find and use our voice at work with confidence. This is a good one. Lisa, you want to touch on this?
Go ahead, Lisa.
That was wonderful. Yes.
Nice pass, babosa. Yeah. Okay. So yes. I think that, and I apologize if this is repetitive, but it's my story, because I can't remember if I said this in the last Power to Fly, but I think there are a lot of people on this call who are the only. So I have been the only woman in the room. I have been the only woman of color in the room. And I have been the youngest in the room. And I have been the lowest hierarchy tier title in the room. And when you're the only, it's very simple to feel isolated, to question, am I in the right room? Am I supposed to be at this table? Am I supposed to be in this conversation? And in those moments, if there's anything that I would hope that the 50 plus of you on this call take away, is yes, you are there not by accident. You are there on purpose. Everything that you have done is what gets you into the room, what gets you the seat at the table. And your voice is what's going to be key, because you are going to have the power to open the door behind you and make space for the rest of us to come in. So it's a struggle, you know, that imposter syndrome or self-doubt. It's very easy. It's like the angel and the devil on the shoulder, right? And one of them has to win. Sometimes you just got to throw the devil in the trunk and keep it moving. You are here to shine. There is a purpose that you bring. Your experiences and everything that you've been through give you such an incredibly unique point of view. That's your voice. Who else has gone through exactly what you have? Your challenges, your hurdles, your struggles, your issues with your parents, your generational trauma, you know, the unfortunate circumstances of feeling marginalized, of being profiled, of being attacked for who you are as a person. And when you're the only person in a room that has that experience, sometimes your personal life can help you at work, because that's broadening what you're thinking about as things get laid out in front of you. And you may be the only person at the table who comes up and says, has anybody thought about this? How is this going to land? How is this going to affect people? Now I'm speaking on behalf of women. I'm speaking on behalf of a person of color. I'm speaking on behalf of somebody from a younger generation who maybe sees things differently, as opposed to everybody else at that table who was like, we know everything. No, you don't. So listen to me, because my voice has value. And that's what you all have. You all have value.
Woo.
I love that, Lisa. And, only doesn't mean something bad. It means you are unique. It means the world is growing. Look at this audience. Look at this actual gathering of all different people trying to move forward, trying to understand each other. Like, we're amazing. It's just somebody told us we weren't amazing, or maybe we told ourselves we weren't amazing. But when you find your space, when you find your inner self, that uniqueness will push you forward. This is kind of ironic, and Lisa will tell you because we shared the experience. When we went to the client is Mexican. Lisa's Puerto Rican. I'm Dominican. And my other professionals that were there were from Spain. I didn't understand everybody's language.
Mhm.
When we talked to the people from Spain, I felt like, do I speak Spanish? Like,
Yeah.
did I hear that? I started edging toward the speaker. Like,
Yeah. It was like you either spoke Spanish, Espanolo, Spanish.
Spanish.
It was like we didn't know who was saying what.
But, I was the knowledge in the room, and they appreciated that because I came to deliver information to enhance their knowledge about Duck Creek and Duck Creek's products. So whether I spoke it perfectly the way they understood it, whether I just spoke Dominican and they grasped at it, they appreciated the fact that I came to the table. I spoke some form of their language. I educated them where they didn't have the education. And I grew as a person because you know what? I just put myself out there. I was like, you know what? We're just going to do this and we're going to feel, as Lisa said, community.
Yep. Hey, Spanglish. It worked for Selena. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, it did. Girl was going places, man. She knows she's up to. All right. Okay. So let's keep it moving. I know we have a little bit under 20 minutes left in today's session. So let's keep going with some other questions. Lisa, you had addressed this early about creating boundaries at work. Do you have any advice on how to proceed when a colleague doesn't respect those boundaries?
That's my favorite.
Oh, that face means there's a story here.
That's my favorite. So I'm pretty blessed to say that it has not happened to me at Duck Creek, but not to say it's never happened. I think that microaggressions, I think that people who just in general are, enter censored word here, haters, we'll go with a clean version. People,
Mom calls them crumbs.
There you go.
He's a real crumb.
So some people will come out their mouth with something that does that little crick in the neck, where you go, I like to do the 3-second rule. So typically there's the, I have no poker face. So there's the involuntary neck move, 3 seconds. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did you want to say that again? Nothing will silence a microaggression quicker than being checked like a box. People have to understand that they're comfortable in their title, in their position, in their privilege, in their whatever. And sometimes they come across the wrong person. And then that person gets to say, hold the phone, because you just did something and it was so automatic. I need to pull you back to being a human being, because that's who you're talking to and that's who you're about to respect. So I like to give them the quick 3 seconds and I'm sorry, did you want to say that again? Just clarify. I want to hear where you're coming from. What was that? That will be the instantaneous Michael Phelps backpedal with speed. Yes. Because they're going to be like, I did something wrong. I don't know what I did. And then my favorite is that typically gets followed with, oh, no. I try to count how many no's you hear with, oh, no.
I'm pretty sure it has to be at least 7.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's a really good, I love that response too. The one I tend to use, my mom calls it painting people into the nice corner. So you kind of ask them the same thing of like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sure you didn't mean blah, 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 which they clearly were intending. Could you tell me what you meant by that? I'm sure it wasn't that.
See, your mom is a lot nicer than me, right?
Oh.
So we're in corporate, we're adults, we're all getting paychecks, we're all here to do a job. And you've already been through kindergarten, so I shouldn't have to teach you anything else. It's not my job to lead you out of the cloud of whatever you are lost in, but it is my job to make sure that if there's a sign blinking red light or green light, you better know the difference. And we have to start holding people accountable for what they're bringing into our community, for what they're bringing into our workspace. I think one of the greatest things I heard, and it came out of our summit, was if you can't change people, change the people. Some people are not receptive to the communities we're trying to build. Some people are not receptive to you and your authentic self. Those people don't need an invite to you. So that just lets them know right there. Check them at the door, like a bouncer.
I like that. I like that a lot. Lissette, how about you? Have you want to add to our discussion on boundaries and how to set them?
So as you can tell, Lisa and I are two opposite sides of the spectrum. And I am more about action instead of having conversations like that with people. I'll give you an example. When I moved to the South, I was a lead business analyst at a company, and I had a VP who was very directive. Well, as a business analyst, I'm going to make logical assumptions, build them into what we're implementing. And one day he came up to me and he said, "Your job is to do what I say." And I was like, okay. So I took a note, do what he says. I started recording our meetings. I did exactly what he said. And then when I implemented and it wasn't what he wanted, he was like, "Isn't your job business analysis? Aren't you the business analyst? Why didn't you do any analysis?" And I said, "Well, the last time we spoke, you asked me to do as you said. So at 3 minutes and 29 seconds on this recording, you said X, Y, Z. And that
Bring
is
the
exactly what I
receipt.
did." And though it was kind of sassy, it was also respectful because I was doing exactly what he asked me to do. But sometimes you have to show people that they're not the only thought in the room, that getting perspective from other people and embracing other people's thoughts is vital to success. And going forward, he never shut me out of the room. It was, "What do you think? Is this the right way we're doing things?" So, sometimes you have to roll with it and let them fall into their own space.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like a very like per my last email sort of like attitude, like, this happened. I remember it happening. I can prove it happened. Check it. I love this. Absolutely loving this. All right, so we have a ton more questions. If y'all have them, please feel free to send them in. We'll try and get to as many as possible today. Let's talk about your relationships at work. Can you tell us some of the ways that you've been able to kind of build, especially meaningful relationships in the workplace? Lissette, you want to start us?
Sure. I think that just goes back to finding your tribe. Like, you're going to meet a lot of people at work. Some people appear great, but as you get to know them, they're kind of like, yeah, you had your good person face on. Now this is yourself. So you have to figure out who is value added to your experience, who at work is truly a cheerleader, who at work is really going to be honest with you, because we're not always correct. Like, you need someone sometimes who's going to say, "You know what, Lissette, I don't think you're thinking that through." And you need to embrace that. So the people that are truly in your corner, they're not the, "Yes, you're great. Yes, you're awesome." They're the people that are truly looking out for you. Once you build those relationships, foster them, give back into them as much as they're giving into you. Let them sponsor you into different forums, because we're all connected. That 6 degrees of separation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You never know how this person will impact you in the future. That person might be a future boss. That person might know a boss that helps you get to your dreams. So, build your network, build the people around you, and let them build you as well.
Oh, loving that advice. Lisa, how about you?
So I think this kind of ties into another question too, that was submitted to us, where they were saying, what are some great ways to connect and build those meaningful relationships? So I'm going to tie this together. When I came to Duck Creek after my previous job where I was at for 7 years, I like to refer to this time as being deprogrammed from my former cult. What facts? What I told myself was, when I get to this new job, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to excel. People are going to know me by the work product I put out. I'm going to be a bad bee. This was everything, right? This was the plan. The plan got shot within a week when I found out there was an ERG and I joined. Then I found out they needed help on a subcommittee. And I was like, oh, I can help. I like to help. I am of service. I like to be of service. So it started there. Throughout the following 10 months, I joined every employee resource group. There are 7 of them now, by the way. I applied to be on the diversity council. That's global. That's over all of Duck Creek, the whole umbrella. In these meetings where I went for a mental break, where I went to network, where I got to hear people and talk to people who I would never encounter in my day-to-day job title, in my day-to-day business, I would never cross paths with these people. I found my tribe. I found multiple communities that I'm a part of. And then most people are part of 2 or 3. So then that's extra levels of connectivity. And then it turns into, I joined an ERG, to now I'm messaging Lissette directly, and we're exchanging pictures talking about how our silly teenage kids are driving us crazy, and look at this and look at that. Like, it turns into a bigger bond, a stronger bond. I think that getting involved in ERGs is one of the most untapped resources that you have, because you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to join the committee that puts out the newsletter. What you don't realize is there's an executive sponsor. There's people in high up positions. The stuff that you do gets shown throughout the company. The name, your name is coming out in meetings you're not a part of, because now you have a sponsor. Somebody was so impressed with something that you did or that you said, or a behavior that you exhibited on a call, whether it's leading a call or just sharing, again, me, I'm an ass. I've been so open on these calls. I filmed a video where I was cooking in my kitchen with my mom. Like, people are sending messages to me to like, tell your mom I said hi. I just watched the how to make empanadas video again because I plan on doing them this weekend. And I'm like, dale, like, who knew, right? The reason that I have the promotion that I have today, I did not apply for this job. I didn't know it was an opening. I didn't know what was happening. My boss calls me out of the blue and he's like, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was like, this is how it starts. This is what happened at my last job. I got to find a box. Oh, wait, I'm remote. I don't need to pack up and leave. And what they were telling me was the guy who was running this specifically wanted me to be the lead. And I'm like, like my day-to-day work is good. I'm not curing cancer though. I'm like, how did my name pop up on this list? And he said the dividends of all the work I've done across all the ERGs and how many people know me, they were like, we couldn't think of a better person to do this job.
Oh,
okay. I accept.
How did that feel? That had to feel good.
That felt good when that pay bump came.
Yes, that's it. Louder for the people in the back, y'all.
Equal pay.
Don't do that work for free.
Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love to hear it. All right, y'all. We are almost to the end of time today. So I am going to keep us on time as much as we can. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at some answers. We had asked both Liza and Lissette some questions prior to today's session. So the one that I want to make sure we have time to go over is your top tip for someone who's interviewing. So I want to know, is this tip Duck Creek specific or not? And then, walk us through your answer. Liza, you're up first. Show the interviewer why you are unique and give yourself flowers. What do you mean by that?
So I think sometimes, obviously, there's this strenuous part of being in an interview, right? It's like literally worse than a date from Tinder. You think you know what you're walking into, but you don't. That's why you have to start peeling back the layers very slowly. Am I going to like this? Am I not? But the same way you're interviewing the job, right? To see, is this a place I want to call my work home for the next however long? You also want them to know about you that aside from paper, aside from what's written on that resume, aside from your accomplishments, to not just have them listed as, I did this, and quantify it. There is a magnetism to you, untapped or not, fully known or not. There's something very special about you. Don't hold that back. I think that a lot of women, and I'm going to expand it to just people in general, it could be cultural. We're kind of taught, oh, don't brag because then you're going to look arrogant. Don't sit here and start, tooting your own horn. Nobody likes somebody like that. You don't have to like me, but my accomplishments are my accomplishments. The things that I've done, and give credit to the people who got you there too. It's not just saying I did this all by myself. And no, you didn't. You can't do anything without your squad. You can't do anything without people in your corner. But it's also only you in the interview. So you have to give yourself your own flowers. You have to let people know this is what I'm capable of. And as an asset to you, I'm willing to bring this to your table. What do you have for me?
Powerful words here. Lissette, what about you? What do you think is your, how would you drive home the point of your top tip?
Well, it's a global tip. It's not specific to Duck Creek, but I think when we go to interviews, we get really excited and we want to push everything about us, all the skills we have, just to seem like this amazing being that we are. But the reality is there is a focus needed in the interview. Read the room. Is the interviewer a conservative person? Is the interviewer a skills-related person? By the dynamic of the conversation, you'll know, does this person really want to hear about my tech? Do they want to hear about the person I am? Are they personable at all? Because depending on what role you're applying for, they're looking for a different, not only skill set, but personality type. Because everyone is not suited to do every job. I love programmers. Can I program? No, I find it boring to look at code all day and figure out where that one missing comma is. But when I deal with my programming friends, they are type A. They're not really the warm and fluffy, like, oh, how was your day? They're kind of like, what do you need? How are you? Let's get moving. If you are in a position like mine, where I'm client facing all the time, there has to be a personality aspect, because you have to build that rapport with the clients. You have to build trust, and you have to meet them where they are. And the same holds for the interviewer. They want you to align not only with the job, but with the business and what type of job and business is it.
Excellent. So thank you so much, ladies, both of you. That is going to bring us to the end of time today. But I just want to say a huge thank you to both Liza and Lissette, as well as all the other Duck Creekers that joined in to support you. I'm so grateful, not only for the time you took, obviously a lot of work went into preparing for today, but also just sharing your expertise with us. It's incredibly helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, Meg.
Anytime, call me.
Oh, of course. And also just a quick shout out to our audience members. Thank you so much for your time. I have a job because y'all came to this event, but even more importantly than that, y'all took an hour out of your day to do something positive for yourselves and your career. That is not easy. It is not simple. It is not something that a lot of us get to prioritize. So congratulations, please pat yourselves on the back. It is absolutely awesome. All right, that's going to bring us to the end for today, but I hope that we will see you on another Power to Fly event soon in the future. Bye, y'all.
Thank
Thank you.
y'all.